So the city of Montreal, and we've talked about this issue of lead in water before, and it seems to sort of get addressed, and then we forget about it for a long time. And the city, of course, has been working on replacing lead piping in some areas of the city. Well, now the city of Montreal has put out an interactive map, so you can find out if, in fact, where you are, if your pipes basically pose a bit of an issue here and may contain your plumbing, your water may contain traces of lead, which is all well and good. But the question, I guess, is, as I said, because we don't talk about this on a regular basis, and now you find out that map's out there, I'm guessing some people will go check and go, I'm in an area affected. Should I be concerned? So to deal with that, Dr. Chris Labos, cardiologist with a degree in epidemiology and a regular contributor here on CJD 800, is here to try to fill in the blanks. I'm not sure where to start with this, Chris, other than, I guess, to ask the obvious question. Does the amount of lead in our water, and I know we have a water treatment plant in the city, should it be of concern if you go to that map and find that it's there where you are?
Yes, because the issue is that the pipe's bringing water to your house. So no matter what a water treatment plant is doing, unless you have a filter in your faucets or a filter in your house to filter your water, that lead is leaching out of the pipes that are either coming from the city or even the pipes within your own home. So a water filtration plant isn't going to be able to do anything for you. The solution is to actually get the ultimate solution is change the pipes so that you don't have lead-based pipes. But the other way to fix the problem is to get a filter in your home. And in fact, most people, I think, don't know this. If you are tested positive for having lead pipes, the city of Montreal will give you at least a pitcher with replacement filters, so at least your drinking water will be filtered, so you can filter out that water from your tap.
So I will point out the city, and this is not just them saying we're going to let you know that there's lead coming from the pipes. They have a whole system here set up on this site. And if you end up showing up, if your dwelling happens to be in an area where the pipes have lead or they're lead pipes, I guess, and that water that's getting into your water, they are prepared to do something here. It says you can check your service line or you can have a plumber do it. Under certain conditions, you can ask the city to screen your tap water. And I'm guessing that goes beyond just giving you a filter. I mean, that goes to them coming up and saying, hey, we took a look at your pipes and this needs to change. And then there's the issue, Chris, I know you're not a plumber, but the city is only responsible for some of the pipe, right? Some of the distance. You're responsible for the one on your own property?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Once the pipe crosses onto your property line, that's your property.
Your business, right?
And you have to change it. And I mean, that obviously can get very, very expensive.
Yeah, although the city says they're willing to help. I don't know exactly what that means, but anyway, it's something you don't want to have to deal with. So this brings me back to my original question. Health-related wise, lead in water, what are we looking at here? What's the potential issue?
Well, the potential issue is that you can get lead toxicity. Now, there's two types of lead toxicity. There's an acute toxicity, so this usually happens in, an industrial setting where people are working with lead-based products and they get like a huge dose of lead all of a sudden. That can make you very, very sick very, very quickly. You can have stomach pain, muscle pains, fatigue. This is the stuff that tends to land people in hospital. What we're talking about here with the drinking water, because you're talking about low levels of lead that you're going to consume over time, this is when you get into some much more chronic issues. And, we don't see this very much anymore because ever since we removed lead from gasoline and from paint, you don't see very much lead toxicity, but it can still happen. It can cause anemia. It can affect brain function, so you get like a tremor. When it happens in kids, there's been concerns that it's going to decrease IQ levels because it impairs brain functioning. It can, and in high doses over long term, it can lead to kidney failure. So it's not a benign issue. I mean, there's a reason why we passed legislation to remove lead from gas and paint, because it was causing a lot of medical problems for people. And these used to be classic medical exam questions, and the reality is we just don't see them as much as we used to because we got rid of the major residential exposures of lead. The one that really remains is the fact is, these old pipes that are still part of our city infrastructure.
Yeah, as you described that, I think back to myself, and I don't remember the name of the town, but I think in Erie, Pennsylvania, there was an issue somewhere outside Buffalo, New York, years and years ago, right, when they discovered that lead was in their water and led to, as you're describing, very serious problems.
Yeah, listen, and there have been situations like this, usually when, older pipes that have just, never been updated are responsible. And this was part of the problem here. The best way to know whether you should worry or not is that if you live in a relatively new house, they almost certainly did not use lead pipes to pipe your house. The problem is a lot of these older houses that have never been sort of gutted and renovated from scratch, they may still have the original pipes there, and that's why this becomes an issue for certain parts of the city where the infrastructure has never
The city actually points that out on this. They say buildings that are most likely to be affected include homes with 8 or fewer dwellings constructed before 1970. Yeah. So 50 years old, but again, a lot of people think, well, I live in a house that's been there since the 50s or 60s or maybe even before that. So you would likely be affected, or at least potentially affected that way. On this map, and Chris, I don't know if you've been to the site, but if you actually go to the site and you believe, as I said, it's an interactive map, you can see if you're affected. You can fill out a form and the city will actually address this. So they're taking it seriously, which is good. And doing something about it. And I can't imagine it's strange to hear you to say as well, but it's just so easy and so preventable, I guess, too. You get one of these zero water filters, you're halfway there, right? I mean, that's a kind of first step to not having to worry about this.
Right, exactly. And there are different types of filters. There are sort of like pitchers that you can have for your drinking water. There are filters that you can install in your faucets or in your pipes with filters it. But one thing to bear in mind is that not all filters will take care of lead. You have to make sure that it's a filter specifically designed to remove lead. And for people who are interested, the actual thing that you should look for on the label is the NSF Standard 53. But just asking specifically, is this a filter that takes care of lead? That's the question you have to ask when you go out and buy something or have something installed in your house.
So typically, is that the kind of a thing you can go to a hardware store and buy, or do you need to deal with a plumber to find the right thing that's going to be the most effective? What would you say?
Well, so it depends. If you want to install it in your piping so that it comes out of your faucet, then you'll probably need a plumber to install that. But just a pitcher that you can pour your tap water into that will filter the water before you drink it, you can just buy that anywhere and just put that on your countertop.
But as you said, make sure, in fact, it does. In fact, I know a lot of them, like I have zero water at home, and it comes with a little water meter to show you how many parts per million, I guess, are in there. But it doesn't tell you specifically if it's lead or not, so you sort of have to do your homework.
Exactly. You have to make specifically sure, and if you're not certain, if you have something, you can go and look it up online. If you go to the EPA website in the U.S., there's also a Canadian equivalent, but they will actually tell you which models and is it specifically for removing lead or not.
Okay. By the way, we shouldn't necessarily freak people. I shouldn't freak people out. The city says, right, that basically the city, the drinking water in Montreal is of, quote, excellent quality overall, and they say the risks to health related to lead in the water are low, but they recommend, regardless, you take certain precautions. By the way, it bears mentioning as well, the city says it intends to remove all lead service lines by 2032. There will be none, so that's part of the plan. So if you're wondering why stuff is getting dug up some places, that's why. All right. Chris, thank you.